my journey with pelvic girdle pain. So I've shared on a couple of other videos about my journey with regards to pregnancy and postnatal recovery, and I shared about pelvic floor issues and diastasis recti. So I want to tell you a wee bit about my own journey with regards to pelvic girdle pain, which is again something that we often say is common but not normal. So not everybody experiences it during pregnancy or beyond. So if it was normal, everybody would have it. But there are quite a high number, maybe like 1 in 3 women during pregnancy. It probably drops a bit afterwards. Often people find that when they give birth it goes away, but not all. So a lot of women are kind of told, oh, once you give birth it'll be fine, but that's not the case for all women. So with my own journey in pelvic girdle pain, I didn't have any at all in my first pregnancy. I had a really good pregnancy. I don't think I had any back pain, no pelvic girdle pain, nothing afterwards. All good. So when it came to my second pregnancy, I probably around the 30-week mark, if I really overdid it, if I've been on my feet a lot, been maybe doing things that were just a wee bit too vigorous at that point, I had a little bit of pelvic girdle pain. So when I started to have some issues, I got referred. At that point, I worked in a hospital. So I think I maybe got seen because I worked in the physio department a wee bit sooner, which was handy. And the physio, I think I just saw her once. She did a bit of what's called an MET, a kind of manual therapy technique, basically a muscle energy technique to help. Because when it came to my pelvis, there was a wee bit of asymmetry. So your pelvis is quite stable generally, but during pregnancy there can be a wee bit of laxity, and that can allow for a wee bit more movement. So my pelvis, one side was sitting a little bit higher, but enough to kind of cause that kind of asymmetry and discomfort. So she did a bit of hands-on treatment, gave me some advice, and pretty much after that I was okay. When I had my first, I did have an assisted delivery, and my legs had to be supported, so I think that might have contributed, or it could have just been as well a combination of factors that when I was on to my second, my abdominal and pelvic floor muscle strength wasn't as good, so I didn't have what was called the force closure to support my pelvis in the same way I probably did during my first. So after I had my second, again no issues kind of in the kind of postnatal period, I went on to expect my third a wee bit sooner than planned, so I didn't have a huge amount of time in between to recover or rehabilitate. And at that point, I did a different type of physiotherapy. And in all honesty, I didn't really know that much. I did my basics like my Kegels, but I didn't really do kind of beyond Kegels or any specific type of abdominal exercise, kind of core rehabilitation to help get my whole core back. So I went into my third pregnancy, busy running around after essentially a toddler and a baby. And from about 16, 17 weeks onwards, I started to struggle, and it got worse and worse with the pelvic girdle pain. And by that point, I just found it really difficult because I was, like I say, busy with 2 young children, and then starting to experience quite severe pain. And as my pregnancy progressed, it got worse to the point, if I hadn't had a double buggy, I probably would have been using crutches, because into the kind of 30 weeks I was struggling to walk, to go upstairs, to do the simplest of things like get in and out the car. A lot of the kind of things that I often hear from clients that they're struggling with. At that point, we were in a part of England, and my husband was studying and I was working very part-time, so I didn't have a huge amount of money to go and get private treatment. So I actually signed up to a study. A chiropractic colleague was doing a study looking at exercises versus hands-on treatment for pelvic girdle pain, and I was really hoping to get put in the hands-on treatment, but I got put in the exercise group. So I went to one session, and I pretty much did all the exercises the chiropractor asked me to do, and probably an hour or two afterwards, I think I had to stop towards the end of the session because we were getting too much. And by after the kind of an hour or two after the session, I struggled to walk, and I pulled out the study because I just felt, especially I was kind of further on in the kind of mid-20 week of pregnancy, that I didn't want to do things that were aggravating the pain. So sometimes you'll hear that expression, no pain, no gain. But most of the time in pregnancy and the postpartum period, that is not an expression that I would generally use. And certainly with pelvic girdle pain, your body's telling you that something's not right. And with a lot of exercises, that can make it worse. So I persevered through my pregnancy. Like I say, towards the end, I really struggled to walk. The only relief I would get was from resting. Even then, sometimes it was a bit hit or miss. And I went into labour, and during labour, my quads, the front of my legs, were absolutely killing me. I remember that very distinctly, and being glad that I could get into the birthing pool, and I gave birth in the birthing pool. Afterwards, I continued to have pelvic girdle pain. It didn't go away. I had it for months afterwards and sought different types of treatment. I had some physiotherapy, I had some chiropractic, and a combination of building up my core strength and the hands-on treatment made a huge difference. There is an organisation, a charity called the Pelvic Partnership as well, so I find their information helpful. And also there's a really good book and app by a lady called Cecile Rost, and I found that information really helpful on my road to recovery as well. So when I went into my fourth pregnancy, I had a bit of a longer gap in between my third and fourth. I kept up with my core exercises and actually taught a pregnancy Pilates class during my fourth pregnancy, pretty much right up until I gave birth. And I also got regular hands-on treatment from what's called a McTimoney chiropractor, and that also made a huge difference just with maintaining the pelvic alignment so that there was symmetrical on the sides, and also there wasn't a torsioning or kind of like an anterior posterior tilt as well. So that all made a much better difference, and I was much more mobile during my fourth pregnancy, and I maybe had one or two sessions after I gave birth, but otherwise total difference to my third pregnancy, where like I could hardly walk, and then afterwards it took a long time to recover. Things were much better during my fourth pregnancy. So that is my journey with regards to pelvic girdle pain, and I often when I see clients recommend for them to either through myself get some hands-on treatment, or I often recommend chiropractic care as well, or osteopathic care, basically to get that hands-on treatment that can come in and make such a difference as well. So if you want to keep up with this channel and be notified of any new releases or videos, like this video and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching. Cheers.